The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It is your Sunday morning fix of the Big 12, breaking it down. Heavy emphasis, of course, on our local teams here, BYU and Utah. Mitch Harper and I, though, every week also breaking down the rest of the conference as well. And it's one of our favorite times, Mitch, that we get to set it up here because it's that time of the week for us to be able to jump in to and listen, we go back and forth, and we try to be thoughtful about these power rankings. And then in the end, we just get we just bicker about it, but it's fine. Look, I think that there's a lot to talk about this week. So let's jump in right here. It's our Big 12 Power Rankings for week number 8 in the Big 12.
The Big 12 Power Rankings, a weekly rank of all 16 programs, from the elite to the bottom dwellers.
Folks, I'm just going to be honest with you here. This was a tough list to put together. Not at the top. That stayed pretty much true to form, but I'll tell you, me and Alex, we were putting this together, and I think, Alex, we can both agree, from about 8 on down, there is a lot of struggle, and there's a lot of teams playing poor right now where you're thinking, that team is this high or that team's this slow.
Yeah.
The top half's looking good.
Look,
but this league in the middle and the bottom, not as great right now.
It's like a bad pie. You know what I mean? Like you got the good, you got the top is nice. It looks good. And then you got to the bottom and you go, "Oh, this thing's not even baked all the way through here." Like it's a very mushy center.
I love that comp.
It's a mushy center of the of this conference. And the very bottom ends up of course being absolutely terrible. But I think we can all agree about what the top looks like here. And that is you have 3 teams that are looking really, really solid right now. BYU, we kept at number 1. And I know that there's a lot of people who go, look, Iowa State's higher in the AP poll. I still think that on paper BYU's wins, and SMU just keeps making BYU look good because of that win, and they just keep mowing through. What did they beat Stanford 40-10 this week? And listen, they're gonna be in the conversation to win the freaking ACC, Mitch. I mean, I'm not kidding. I know that everybody's talking about Dabo Swinney and everything in Clemson, but who freaking cares, man? Like SMU's got an offense that is absolutely blasting people. And so it looks good. And then they beat Kansas State, who held serve this weekend. Not just held serve. Kansas State blasted and absolutely blew the doors off of West Virginia. And so it goes BYU, Iowa State for us. You and I both agree on that one. And then for sure Kansas State. I think that's the next closest in terms of talent and in terms of how they're playing. And they could easily find themselves, if Iowa State or BYU slip up, they could find themselves at the top of that list very, very quickly. So that's your 1, 2, and 3. And then after this, we want to apologize for the rest of the list because we don't actually know what to do with it.
And I would just say, too, with BYU, it's kind of an interesting tidbit looking at, because I don't think it's getting enough credit, is BYU's the highest scoring Big 12 offense. Every team has played 4 conference games, and in those 4 conference games, BYU scored the most points, 151 points so far. That's number 1 in the Big 12 thus far. So the offense is showing up in conference play. They've edged out Colorado by 3 points in conference play, and at number 4 in the power rankings is the Colorado Buffaloes, and who would have thought that? Colorado sitting at 3-1, just dismantled Arizona. They're 5-2 overall. One more win, and they're going to get to the postseason, Coach Prime. So the Buffs are trending up. A team that's sliding back, though, this week, number 6, Texas Tech. They had a real opportunity to continue to gain some momentum. They suffered their first loss this week against Baylor.
Yeah, and I think that it's again when you start to sort of look and see what this thing could have really been. You go Colorado at 4, Cincinnati at 5, and it was almost like this. Yeah, I guess Cincinnati at 5 because you go they just keep winning. And Texas Tech, I know they only have 1 loss in conference, but it looks so bad to lose against Baylor. That's your number 6 team on the list, and again. I don't even know what to think of this one because they had such a poor performance this weekend, too. Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham and his guys, and he did what a bad coach does, which is throw some of these kids under the bus at the press conference. Like that's what a team at the very, very bottom of the conference is going to do. But Arizona State's now 5-2. Still 5-2 is better than anybody could have thought that they would have been. But they lose this weekend to Cincinnati, and so Joey McGuire, his guys go to 6. Arizona State goes to 7, and then again, shrug emoji. Put Baylor at number 8. That's where we put them this week because they got a big win over Texas Tech.
Well, and I think along with that too, yes, Baylor's only 1-3 in Big 12 play. Very competitive against BYU.
Yes.
They were competitive against Iowa State for about 2.5 quarters. Sawyer Robertson has given them some hope, some belief. Everyone was talking about DeQuan Finn, but Sawyer Robertson, he took over that job, and DeQuan Finn got Wally pipped. He lost the job to his injury, and Robertson is taken off. Where Baylor's playing some good football. They're going to be an interesting team to watch going forward. At number 9, UCF, I'll admit, Alex, I left them for dead. I thought they are done. They are cooked. They benched KJ Jefferson. I thought this can't work. This is not going to be working out going forward for UCF. But they showed a lot of fight in that game against Iowa State. And R.J. Harvey reminded everyone how good that team is. They're now 3-1 this season. When he rushes for more than 150 yards, it was the first time they've lost a game this season when he goes off for more than 150. But that's kind of the benchmark number. If he gets to 150, more times than not, UCF's going to win ball games.
West Virginia had their worst loss of the season. This was a team that, was really hanging in there with a lot of the best teams that they've been playing. And they're pretty talented, but they've had injuries and a lot of problems. As soon as Garrett Green went down, that was a bad deal for them. But they absolutely got blasted by Kansas State this week. And Kansas State's a good football team, but I don't think any of us saw, what was it? What did it end up? 45-17 or
45-18.
45-18, and so that's just not like that was an old West Virginia showing. Like they just did not look good at all. We've moved Utah down one spot this week. And frankly, I bet there's some fans out there who feel like they should be even further down. But we put them at 11, and I know that we have TCU right behind them at 12, mostly just because TCU still has a loss to Houston, and it's not like they've totally turned things around anyway. I mean, they're still 4-3 on the season. So is Utah. There's a lot of hope still left for the Utes, but and we put TCU at 12. I think just because they're about right there, and I know they beat Utah, so maybe you feel like you need to put them above there, but they still are still on the struggle bus a little bit. Josh Hoover, I don't think he really proved anything this weekend with that win over the Utes at Salt Lake. He didn't really do much in the game. No touchdowns, no interceptions. He was just kind of there.
Well, and I'm glad you bring that up because that was going to be my point, is that Josh Hoover, he is who he is at this point. There's no ceiling. Like, he is who he is. Whereas Isaac Wilson, I still believe there's some hope. And I think that he's going to turn the corner eventually. And look, you're going to take some more losses, Utah. Like, it's going to happen this year with a true freshman. But long term, you're going to see some signs this year that are going to give you some hope going forward for 2025 and beyond. But, yeah, I mean, Utah's losses, I mean, they're 1-3 in Big 12 play. And, this was a loss at home to a program that you once felt like you were way farther ahead than when TCU, who left for the Big 12 at the same time as Utah went to the Pac-12 back then and in the early 2010s. And to lose in that fashion to a TCU team that was not stopping anyone and only score 7 points, that's concerning. I mean, there's a real argument to drop Utah even further, but I still hold out some belief that Isaac Wilson's gonna get things right here soon. So I'm still, as far as a power ranking goes, I'm still buying a little bit on the Utes, but, man, it is not going well for Utah. As you noted, TCU number 12, number 13, Arizona. 3 weeks ago they went into Salt Lake 2-1, but they are reeling. They haven't won since.
Yeah, it's a tough go for the Wildcats right now, who have such great talent at the quarterback and skill positions, but they cannot figure it out. How about and again, these last 4 teams, and this is what makes the Big 12 weird, and I say weird, and it's not a good weird. It's those last 4 teams that we're about to name off here: Arizona at 13, Oklahoma State at 14, Kansas at 15, and Houston at 16. All 4 of those could beat the next 4 above them probably at any moment too. Yep. And then the next 4 above them could lose to those 4 that were right after them as well. Really, those top 3, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, and I'm still not buying into Colorado yet, or Cincinnati or Texas Tech. I just think that right now this is looking like a lot of the other power conferences, super top heavy and a mushy middle and then a really, really bad bottom. And that's that's kind of where they're at right now. So yeah, until proven otherwise, Kansas and Houston are going to round it out at 15-16. And you've got Utah's got Houston next week down in Houston, and BYU still has to take on Kansas and Houston. That bodes well for the schedule and how things could turn out for BYU this year.
Things are aligning for BYU quite well. Even Andre Ware said, 1984, they won a national title.
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
just saying. No, look, he hit. Even BYU players were talking about it 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you know what? Why
publicly
not?
saying it.
Until proven otherwise, all you can do is just go off of what the record is that they have, and you can try to speculate what the future is going to look like, but based off of what they've done so far, they've proven that that right now they could at least have that conversation and it's valid.
Let me tell you though, BYU and Iowa State in a Big 12 title game, that'd be awesome. I think that would be a sellout. It'd be a sellout crowd. I bet both fan bases would be hyped because they'd be going for their first Big 12 title. Iowa State's never won it, and BYU clearly has never won it either. So, I mean, that would be an electric atmosphere in Arlington.
Is that on Fox or on ESPN? Because can I get a Gus Johnson call on that game?
America, this is how we do. It's on ABC, 11 a.m. on December 7th. Is the 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain.
Was that like a Reese Davis call? Was that like a Reese Davis, Herb Street
probably
call,
like
maybe?
a Sean McDonough. Probably like a Sean McDonough. Down to the goal line and caught. BYU takes down Nebraska. Bronco Mendenhall is crowd surfing. Anyway, we're getting off the rails here. Let's get to a break. Our show's brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. That was the Big 12 Power Rankings. Coming up next, we'll get a check-in and look ahead to what's next in Week 9 action of Big 12 football. It's 1st and 12 here on the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio.